How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to the Deadline with Dayvy stream. Been quite a while since we've done one of these specific deadline streams. We did one last game week, but unfortunately that was a little bit of an earlier stream because of me not having power. Well, I have power. I'm coming at you live from South Africa. A little bit of a rainy day for me here, so quite a nice break from the heat we've been having. This stream is going to be basically covering Game Week 26, but you can obviously ask any questions about Game Week 26, Game Week 27, maybe even Game Week 28, or if you really want to know what color shirt I'm wearing, you can also ask that. Before we get into the stream and answering your guys' questions, I just wanted to give you a reminder of our sponsor. Sponsoring the stream is OneFootball. A link down below for the iOS or Android app. It's a free app covering all footballing, basically the footballing world. I basically follow only the Premier League. So as you can see, got my match day here. A little bit of a split game week this Game Week 26, which is a little bit annoying. I'm going to have to make decisions on these end of the week fixtures, only coming in next weekend, but we still have to get that squad in today, which is, as I said, a little bit annoying, but sometimes this is what happens with FPL. But in our Game Week 26 lineup so far, the only changes that have really been made, I did the O'Connell transfer last night. He rose in price, which is a little bit unfortunate if you guys can't afford him. I have the exact money for him, so a lot of questions were asked about if you can't afford O'Connell. I would just simply go one of Egan or one of the other 4.5 defender for Sheffield United. Don't really think there's too much in that. At the time of buying, there was just 0.1 between them. I do think O'Connell offers slightly more of an attacking threat. He just has a little bit of a higher XG and XA. I don't think there's too much, as I said, in it, though, so you can kind of just go for anyone. I do think, though, this game week that Lundstrom will start. So a couple of people were also asking me about why am I transferring out Lundstrom. I do think he starts this game week, but I think that I'm not willing to take that risk with the future game weeks. These two fixtures that they have next, Bournemouth and Brighton, they are too good to ignore. I have to bring a Sheffield United defender in, or Sheffield United player, just the defender for me. And I think that Lundstrom, even if he does start, I kind of feel like around that 60-minute mark, he'll be taken off. With that new signing that they've just done, I think it's Besic that also was playing before him. So he could maybe see something in that kind of nature. So I think that Lundstrom does have the potential to do well this game week. So if you do have him, I would play him. I just think you just have to hope that he starts and at least gets that clean sheet. But, you know, with Lundstrom, he's probably going to be getting a goal. Every single kind of transfer that I do out usually bangs. So I recommend that you guys do start Lundstrom. The other thing that has changed is that I do have Sionku on the bench right now. I brought Rico in. The thought behind that is I just think that Rico may be a little bit more of an attacking threat. Bournemouth are atrocious, so that's definitely not going to be a clean sheet. But I don't think that Sionku gets a clean sheet either this game week. I just think that Wolves are too strong. I think they're playing that Friday night fixture, and if you guys can remember from last season, a Friday night fixture for Wolves was literally like them getting superpowers. They absolutely demolished anyone that came into their path on a Friday night. So I do think they'll at least get a goal. I do think that Wolves-Leicester game is going to be quite tight. So I'm just hoping for the best from the players that I do own. The likes of Vardy and Traore kind of playing them. Sionku could come into the lineup, though. I just have to kind of assess the situation and see how he does. I think that I'm going to be holding him for the upcoming fixtures. If you don't know, Leicester have some really nice fixtures coming up. I definitely won't be playing him next game week against Man City, but I said that about the Spurs options, and look what happened to them. So maybe Leicester do get a clean sheet on that one. I also have a couple of people in chat here. A lot of support here. Thanks, Theo, for the kind words. I also saw that someone asked me what shirt I was wearing. So I'm wearing a white-colored shirt. Hopefully that's not any good luck for the Spurs assets, but I should have probably worn a red shirt for Liverpool. Optimus Prime saying, "Hey Davey, how are you? Welcome to the most boring Game Week 26. Starts today and finishes Christmas 2028. So it's a little bit of a boring game week, I must admit. I do think, though, that it kind of, even though the players are getting a break, I think we're also going to be getting a break. A reason being is after this Saturday, you're not going to be able to make any changes for your team for about 2 weeks. So you can kind of just relax a little bit, take all the footballing games in and kind of assess the situation there. I would recommend that you guys, please, don't do transfers after this week unless it's really tempting or you really have to because of price rises. But with all these fixtures still to come towards the end of the game week, I think that you kind of have to almost hold your transfers for a little bit. That would be kind of my one piece of advice. So if you take any advice from the stream, it would be just kind of delay your transfers as long as possible so that we can get all the team news kind of after these fixtures. Jamie O saying, how's it, Jamie? Adam saying, heard Salah just had a baby. Any thoughts on whether he starts? So I do think that he will have had that child. Apparently, it might have even happened. It might have been yesterday or today. Liverpool only play in a week, so I reckon that's enough kind of break for him. I think we can almost be hoping that he does have it, not him, but his wife. I know that's not, you can't really force a child out, but best case scenario would be if it happened today or yesterday, because then he kind of has a full week of staying with the baby. We'll go away for that Norwich fixture, but I honestly don't know. I think it's a personal thing. I think with Jamie Vardy, it happened quite quickly. Maybe he thought that he had to stay with his wife for support or something like that. But maybe Salah's different. Maybe Salah says, okay, maybe his family or even it has come from Egypt and they are looking after his wife and their newborn. It's really a situational thing. So I'm kind of hoping that he does play. I know a lot of people were kind of asking about, because apparently there's also a storm that's hitting the UK quite soon. So people were worried about a couple of games being postponed in that case. If Man City's game is postponed, that's going to be an absolute nightmare for them, because Man City's schedule is so stacked because they basically in all competitions. Imagine them getting a postponed fixture. That's 100% they'll be having a triple or quadruple game week or whatever. Igor said already answered my question. Thanks. Adrian Lowe saying, I'm Troy's sister. He starts. I saw that photo of him playing paintball with the Wolves squad. So I reckon that he will start. Will Traore start? Greetings from Greece. I don't know if he will start exactly, but I reckon that he probably will. He's quite a strong lad, so I think that he might still start. Jared saying, Dayvy, is it too risky captaining Mane over Salah if you have both? Laka Brew. So Jared, I think that if your rank is really bad, like, I don't want to sound like a chop here, but if it's above 1 million or something, and you want to look to maybe make some strides with your captaincy, I do think that it could be a good option. But I'm also on the fence here with kind of owning Mane right now is almost a differential, because in the top 10k, I don't even think he comes above 20% ownership. So I know that it might be a little bit risky, but if I would only take it if you really need a mega differential. Otherwise, I would kind of just keep it on Salah. We saw last game week what happened with the captaincy. Salah banged and everyone else didn't. But I do think that this game week there could be some rotation. Jamie is saying up to 5th in Dayvy vs the world. So let's go check. Jamie, there, I can confirm that name. Are you from Australia? I've been watching some Bondi Beach lifeguard videos on YouTube recently. So if you live near Bondi, that's quite cool. Okay, so you're 5th in Dayvy vs the world. Also, that's a really nice rank. You can really push on here. Do you have all your chips? If you have all your chips, that's going to be quite nice. So you've only used your wild card and your triple captain. So that's looking at a very nice position. I can't remember if I was in the same position when last season. I don't know. But maybe if you can go back and check last season's videos, then you can kind of see. But I would just kind of recommend you to just play your game here. I don't think that you necessarily have to go too Maverick. I think you probably reach the same realization that you kind of just want to get as high as you can. The top place in the world is always kind of out of sight when you like in this position. But it's a really nice rank, so hopefully you keep it up, Jamie, and congratulations on that top 5 position. What is Joey? So 140th, so that's also quite good, yeah. So we have a couple of really nice places in Dayvy vs the world, but I'm expecting that. We have about, I think, 8,000 managers in that league, so quite good. Then Enchanted Fortress saying, on wildcard, go for Aguero, Aubameyang, or Firmino as your third forward. Out of those two, I think Aguero is probably in the better form. I think he has the better options. It's just the starting minutes that kind of worry me. Aubameyang, probably more of a little bit of a differential. And then Firmino, I think with Firmino, you could get away with just going the double Liverpool defense rather. I would go with Gomez and then kind of try and fit as many people in. I'm a real big fan of the Trent Alexander-Arnold Gomez combo as the double defense. So I would cross Firmino off that list, and then I think it's just down to Aguero or Aubameyang. So for me, it would probably go down to ownership a little bit. So Aubameyang 16% owned, whereas Aguero is quite a bit more owned. I think the fixtures always kind of also rely on Aubameyang. Both of them blank in Game Week 28, which is a little bit annoying. But I do think I'd kind of lean a little bit more towards Aubameyang right now. So I think if you're on wildcard, that's probably going to be my preference option. You can always kind of just fit Kevin De Bruyne as your Man City coverage. Probably the most nailed player in that squad besides Edison. Whereas with Arsenal, who are you going to get besides Aubameyang, if you know what I'm saying? So I definitely do think that I would kind of opt for a little bit of Aubameyang. Dayvy, we want to see your face. I mean, how you look. So my picture right now is probably a little bit, that was literally just a picture that I sent and then someone drew it. So that's probably how I look, but maybe a little bit different in real life. But I don't know, maybe, what was it? 1 billion subscribers, then we're doing a face cam. So just give me to 1 billion and then I can promise you that I'll be having a face cam and maybe a couple of face cams on stream. Sonny Ultra saying, hey Davey, quick advice please. Start Maddison or Stevens. So I'm leaning towards Maddison just because I think he's a lot better of an attacking option. I know Stevens is a defender, but I think that could be a little bit of a tough one against Burnley. You never kind of know with Burnley. They kind of show up, some games don't. But I think I would just go for Maddison. I know that game probably will be quite close, but hopefully if Leicester do get on the score sheet, then he will be on the receiving end of an assist or a goal. So De Bruyne captaincy, that kind of reminds me, I didn't do the captaincy kind of discussion. So with my captaincy, this is kind of how I'm leaning towards. So I don't think that Salah is going to be the highest scorer. I'm predicting who else is going to be the highest scorer is a little bit of a tougher situation. But I think if you're going to look at overall, I think potentially, I don't think Salah is going to be the highest scorer. I do think he's going to be the safest option. We saw last game week how many people captained him. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have some stats that reflect that come that deadline of how he's probably going to be captained about 60% of people. So I do think if you in a situation where you need to make up a lot of ground, I would look away from Salah. I'm talking about if you maybe in the 100Ks or the millions, then I would look at another option because of the potential of other fixtures. So the two fixtures that I would look at are going to be your Man City options, and then they're going to be your Spurs options. So I think those two teams are going to have a really good game week this week. So I think De Bruyne, Aguero, probably your safer options. I've also seen Mahrez thrown around there a little bit, but with Sterling out injured, we could maybe see Bernardo Silva in that role or Mahrez, but I guess Mahrez is more the exciting option. I do think that Man City will win. I think my prediction was 4-0 or 5-0 on Super Brew, so I'm expecting quite a thrashing from Man City. So I think those options are also good. And then your Spurs options, I'd probably look at Son. He's my favorite. And then you could also look at someone like Dele Alli, maybe if you still own him. But I think those two teams, if you're looking for a different captain to Mo Salah, I would go from. If you own Aubameyang, you can also captain him. That is also an option to go for. But with Newcastle, they usually park the bus quite a bit. So I don't know if Arsenal are going to be able to break him down that much. And then Sam just reminded me about my vice captain. So I'm vice captaining De Bruyne. Thanks for that reminder there, Sam. Appreciate it. Could have maybe saved me. Maybe Mo Salah misses that Norwich fixture. It's a little bit of a tough situation for Mo Salah because he has Norwich away and then he also has Atletico Madrid away. So he's basically going to be gone for quite a few weeks, or for a couple of days, for not weeks, but a couple of days. So maybe he gets the Norwich game off, but I kind of think that if we get cut in this kind of speculation drama the whole time, we're not going to be getting that much news. So I'm pretty comfortable with going with Salah, and then just hoping that maybe the other assets don't bang too quickly. Tees Meister, thanks for joining in the stream. Good morning to you. Someone said press confirm, but I think I did there. Team saved. So you guys don't have to worry. Do you still play Rico instead of Soyuncu if you have Fleck playing? You can kind of play the odds on that one, R and R, and then you just go for Soyuncu. You basically expect Sheffield United to score so that you don't really hope that Rico gets anything. But I'm kind of in the same situation. I just don't own a Sheffield United outfielder. But I really don't think that Rico is going to be keeping a clean sheet, but I'm still playing him. I just think that from an attacking point of view, he might have a little bit more of an assisting threat than Sionku. I expect both Sionku and Rico to concede in this game week. I'm just kind of, as I said, playing Rico. A little bit of a punt. I don't know if many people will be playing him. Lundstrom or Grealish. I think I would go for Grealish. Kelly to Stevens, good move. So I think any move for a player that's not playing to a player that is a good move, especially with these kind of blank game weeks coming up. So if you don't know, Martin Kelly is going to be out. I think it's a thigh injury. Roy Hodgson said in his press conference. So Martin Kelly's not going to be playing. So transfer him out if you can. I know he dropped in price this game week, which is a little bit unfortunate for those of you who still own him. But that's kind of the reason I got rid of him for Lascelles. So I do think that Martin Kelly out is definitely a good transfer. Stevens is pretty good as well. Southampton has some nice fixtures coming up. So definitely a targeting team to go for. Lascelles is better. Arsenal cannot defend corner. Also, Dayvy, you are a legend. Thanks, Vincent. All caps. So I know that you mean it because you're shouting at me, but I appreciate that advice. I do see where you're coming from with Lascelles, but I'm just kind of expecting Arsenal to score. And I always will play a wing back instead of a centre back. That's kind of always what I go for. But maybe Lascelles does score, and then unfortunately we're going to be having him on our bench. Hey Davey, speak about your plans with the free hit, bench boost, and wildcard. So I'll probably be making a video on it. I'm not too assured right now. It's kind of leaning towards that whole blank game week 31 using the free hit and then using the bench boost after our wildcard. I think the double game week's only really late in the season, which is a little bit annoying. Good morning. Stevens, a better option than the other Southampton defenders, and will you do a stream regarding chip strategy anytime soon? So I won't do a stream, but I'll be doing a video. And then in terms of Sheffield United defenders, Jan, I would go for Stevens. The only reason I haven't gone for Stevens is because I can't afford him. So I also saw that I did get a DM on Twitter where someone asked me, so it might have been you, where they asked me why I didn't go for Stevens. The only reason is because I didn't have enough money. If you do have enough money, I would 100% go for Stevens out of the likes of those Sheffield United defenders. Rafiq saying, I'm from Malaysia. Should I take a hit to drop Lord Lundstrom? I wouldn't be taking a hit. I think that he will start this game week, so you should play him. That's kind of my advice. I just don't want to... I knew O'Connell was going to rise in price last night, so I wanted to get rid of Lundstrom for him. But I do think that Lundstrom will start this week. I don't know why the manager would come out and say the words he did about Lundstrom if he wasn't going to start him, if you know what I'm saying. Is tripling up on Sheffield United defense a good idea? So Sam, it's a good idea if you have enough replacements for blank game week 28. So Sheffield United don't have a fixture in game week 28, so make sure you have enough bench players that are willing to come in for that triple up. If you're going to have a triple up, it's probably going to be with Henderson, so also look at your keeper situation. AJ saying, will Mane start? I hope he does. That was kind of what I was banking on. I was only expecting him to miss one game week, which kind of made it a little bit more worth it for me because I knew a lot of people would transfer him out. But if he doesn't start against Norwich, I'm going to be highly disappointed. Aurier or Egan to start, I would go with Egan. Sheffield United just a lot better. I think that Aston Villa are going to have no choice but to attack. And Spurs, even though recently been a little bit better defensively, I do think that they will concede. Egan or Stevens, I would go for Egan, just the better defensive side, so that Sheffield United then Southampton. Should I get in Firmino? Not a bad option. Guaranteed to start basically in that lineup, so he looks a nice option if you want to have a little bit more of a differential. I don't think he's as much of a differential as he used to be because of how well he did, but I think that he still is a viable option. Lascelles or Tanganga to start, I would go with Tanganga. I don't really think that Lascelles is going to be keeping a clean sheet. I touch wood that I haven't just jinxed it. Ben Krellin says I have a good chance 29 will be a double game week Man City Arsenal. That looks quite good then if you do have the likes of Aguero. I don't really have that many players. Probably be favouring Man City in that double game week. So if you have Aguero, just keep hold of him. Mupai starts. That's also a question mark. The Brighton manager came out and said that he's probably been underusing Glenn Murray. So that to me kind of says that he will probably be starting. The annoying thing with Glenn Murray is I don't know if he'll be playing the full 90. So if you still own Mupai and you kind of play him as kind of a a little bit of a punt. He's probably going to come off the bench for a 1-pointer, which makes it really annoying. He's not one of those players that kind of will just, if he's benched, will get rested. I changed Mane and Vardy for Son and Firmino. What do you think? I don't really like the Vardy transfer out that much. If Mane is not going to be playing, I can understand it. But those transfers don't look too bad. So if you really want to do them, I'm not really that much against them. But I don't see them being like, they're kind of like a 50-50. If you want to go for it, you can, but I don't know. If Liverpool lose from Chelsea, not really need to use the free hit at Game Week 31, says Optimus Prime. So that is true because a lot of people own that Liverpool. So if they lose against Chelsea, which I'm pretty sure they will, so that's my prediction, I don't think that they're going to be beating the likes of Chelsea, especially because I think Chelsea will probably play a lot stronger starting 11 than Liverpool. And then we basically guaranteed to have 3 or 2 players playing Game Week 31. So it does make it a little bit easier to navigate, but it also makes it easier to navigate if you just free it. Unless you really want to use your free hits in a double game week, then you can go for that. The one option that we could look at is if there is a Game Week 29 double, maybe we use the free hit then. Hopefully by then we should know about what blanks and doubles are happening. Matt's saying, in which video do you explain the chip strategy for the season? There's no video yet. I'll probably be recording one this week because of just we have a week's rest basically between the game weeks. So I'll probably be uploading that chip strategy video this week. So pretty much a lot of people have been asking me to do it. So it does look like a highly requested video. Chris Patel says -4 for Lundstrom. I don't think I'd be taking a -4. Batter saying Fernandez replacing Kelly for a -4, only if you don't have a bench player. O'Connell or Shells, I'd go O'Connell. Vardy or Grealish, I'd go for Vardy. But I would kind of want to play Grealish, so it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation if you're not able to play Grealish. But if you have to really choose between one of those, I would go for Vardy. Akash saying, how's it, Dayvy? Thoughts on a -4 for bringing in Son? I don't think that's a bad situation, depending on who you're transferring out, but I do think Son's a great option. It becomes an even better option if you're willing to captain Son, because a -4 hit, if you're willing to captain that player you bring in, kind of gets negated if that player scores. So, Jamie is saying, I hope Martinelli keeps his spot. That could be a nice option to look at if he does, but I guess there's quite a lot of competition in that starting places in that wing and forward position for Arsenal. Grealish out for Perez. I would probably leave that transfer for 1 more week, maybe 2 more weeks, because then Leicester play Man City. I think you can probably keep Grealish for that, and then you kind of keep it for that Southampton game, and then you can transfer him out for the blank, which looks quite good. Aguero or Salah captain. So I would go Salah captain if you want to be safe, Aguero if you want a nice differential. Bada saying, I just want to say thanks. Appreciate the kind words. Any updates on Saw? Would you do Saw to Redmond for a -4? No, Grealish. So we can go and look at Saw if you want. Let me bring it up here for you. So if you don't know, this is Ben Dinnery. He is pretty much the go-to for injury news. So this is his website. It's premierinjuries.com if you want it. So Saw here, we'll assess Saw a bit more tomorrow and make a decision on that. So that was on the 6th of Feb, so that was 2 days ago. So that to me kind of tells you that it might be worth a punt of just playing him. But it doesn't look too great. I mean, they're playing Brighton. Not the worst fixture, not the best in the world, but I do think that Watford should be scoring in that game. So you could maybe take a punt on just starting him. I don't think he'll be risked if he is still injured. So I would just probably play him, and then he'll probably come on your bench if he doesn't start. Early lineup news, we'll be keeping an eye out for early lineup news. It's probably only going to be Everton, Crystal Palace, so not too much news in that one. Hopefully Guaita starts. Maybe if you own the likes of Richarlison, you could be looking at him, or Calvert-Lewin. But it's not the most exciting game to have early kind of team news on, unfortunately. Jose saying, at 0.35 million, should I go for Mahrez captain? By the way, do you remember me? We started chatting on Twitter DMs. So I'll probably remember you if I see your profile picture. I'm not the best with sometimes names, but if you should go for the Mahrez captain, I'd say yes if you want to go mega differential. But otherwise, Otherwise, you could maybe go for a little bit of a safety option there. But as I said, if you want to go mega differential, Mahrez is probably the player to go for. Richarlison to Mahrez, Kelly to Lascelles. Let's check Everton's fixtures, because as far as I know, I don't think Everton's fixtures were that bad. Okay, they are, but the thing is, you can always just keep him for Crystal Palace. If he does well, just keep him for Arsenal. You know Arsenal, they're not great defensively. United on in the best form as well. It is a home fixture, so I don't think it's a necessity to transfer him out for these 3 games, maybe after that. But if you're looking at bringing in Mahrez, that could be a nice little tasty option to go for. I would only take out Kelly because if you don't have a bench player, otherwise just stick with your bench option. I don't think Lascelles is going to be getting too many points this game week. That's why he's on my bench, but you never know. Maybe he'll do an absolute masterclass. I'm confused. Please help Grealish or Calvert-Lewin. That is a tough spot to be in. I would, best case, probably start both of them. But I think you might lean a little bit more towards Calvert-Lewin in that case. Reasons for starting Rico over Soyuncu. I think both of them are going to concede, and I just think Rico is a little bit more of an attacking threat. Rico or Stevens or Soyuncu, I'd probably go for Stevens. I got a really hard one. Grealish, Barnes, Baldock or Traore. If Barnes is not Ashley Barnes, but Harvey Barnes from Leicester, I can understand why you're in a predicament. That's a really tough spot to be in. I might lean a little bit more towards Baldock in that case. Tanganga or Rico to start, I would go for Tanganga. What to do with Mane? So if you still own Mane, you have to keep him. There's not really 100% he's not going to be playing against Norwich. So I'm really willing to take the risk, especially because I kept him on that Southampton game. I knew that he wouldn't play the Southampton game, but I still kept him just because I knew it was going to be a nice differential. If he starts on the weekend against Norwich, I'm going to be absolutely ecstatic. And if he scores, it's even better. So I'm really willing to hold Mane. Not many people still own him, so I think you have to kind of keep him. Why did you transfer out Lundstrom? I really don't want the kind of headache of starting him, then he comes on for a 1-point appearance, because I really do think that that's going to be how Lundstrom plays. He's either going to be starting the game, taken off at 60 minutes, or he's going to be coming on at 60 minutes for one of the replacements. So it's probably going to be best case scenario, he gets that 60 minutes, maybe gets an attacking threat. But I don't know. I just don't want that headache. And with how Sheffield United have been playing this season and how good they've been defensively, I really want to have a consistent option in. Watch O'Connell be benched now, and then I'm going to be absolutely crying. Ali to Son or Mahrez. Ali to Son is a little bit of a sideways move, so I only would do that transfer, Kevin, if it's going to be Ali to Mahrez. But I do think with the fixture that they have, I would just be keeping Ali. How's it, Dayvy? My conundrum is starting Target or Rico or Lundstrom. Cheers, brother. I would start Lundstrom. Wild card now. Kelly to Gomez -4. Sheffield United. No Sheffield United defense. So Kelly's not going to be starting, so Gomez could be a good option. But I would maybe look at bringing in a Sheffield United defender instead. He's a lot cheaper, so... Dayvy, Mane will play 100% because he's training, has pick on Instagram. He does have a picture on Instagram, but I don't know how much we can go by that. He could have another little bit of an injury this week in training. You never kind of know with these things. Unfortunately, that's just the problem, and especially because of a split game week, we don't have the run by. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. How's it, Dayvy? Mapai to Aguero or Jimenez? That, I don't understand. Like, Mapai to Aguero, that's almost doubling his price. So I would probably go for him. Jimenez is also a nice option. They don't blank. They have some nice fixtures coming up. So conservative pick's probably going to be Jimenez. But if you're willing to captain Aguero this game week, then that could be a nice option. Hi, Davey. I only have Mane and I don't have Salah. Do you think Salah is a must-own right now? My last few weeks have. So I do think that the Salah transfer was kind of essential. But I think that you should have probably done it last game week when he was confirmed out. You kind of have to have one of the Liverpool assets. The problem is that now Mane is out injured, so he wasn't playing. So then Salah kind of had all the limelight. But now it's a different case. If Mane is back, you can kind of choose either of them and just hope that the player that you have kind of scores. So you've kind of made the situation a little bit more tricky because you have held on to Mane and not gone to Salah. So I don't really know what to do now. I think maybe just keep Mane. especially with the news of Salah. Everyone's kind of having a little bit of a predicament over him. Nahavda with the $10 donation saying, hey Davey, would you start O'Connell and Tanganga over Rico and Lascelles? I would go for O'Connell and Tanganga. I think Rico and Lascelles perfectly fine to bench them. I think they're both going to concede, so those other two are a lot better transfers. So I appreciate the $10 there, Nahavda. Guita or Ryan, I would go for Ryan. The only reason why I have Guita is because he's playing in blank gaming 28, and I don't really want to make a kind of a keeper transfer before that blank gaming, because I probably would have gone for Henderson. So Guita, I don't have any expectations from him anymore. He's probably going to be conceding every single game week that I own him and getting me 1 point, but probably going to be keeping him till wild card unless I can kind of afford a free transfer. Fpl Dare, good day, mate. All the best this week. What's your thoughts on playing Rico over Lundstrom? So I'd probably go for Lundstrom in that case. Dare. I just think that Lundstrom will start this game week. I just transferred him out because I really don't want to deal with that kind of a headache. And O'Connell's probably guaranteed to start. So I was just hoping that he kind of... he rose in price as well, so that's probably the deal breaker why I brought him in. But I would start Lundstrom this week. I don't see why the Sheffield United manager would come out and say that about him if he was going to bench him again. That's going to be a little bit... Surely that's going to be like a detriment on his kind of self-confidence if he says he really appreciates his mindset and then he goes and benches him again. So I would just start Lundstrom over there, FPL there. I appreciate you dropping in. Rico over Sidibe, I would go for Sidibe. FPL Rockstar says, no team news today. It's Everton versus Palace. So that's pretty good. I don't think that there was much news that we kind of needed. Unfortunately, there's going to be no team news for you guys, but hopefully our players do start. Hayden or Lascelles, if you have to play one of those players, I would probably go... That's a tough spot. I don't think Hayden's attacking form is that great. So I want to almost be leaning towards Lascelles in that case, just because if you look at probability odds there, that I think Lascelles could get a little bit more points than Hayden. So I would probably lean maybe towards Lascelles in that case. But that's already, it's almost, I don't want to say not a big decision, but it's like such a weird one that it's almost hard to predict. Elite FPL saying, yep, I'm not benching Lundstrom. Yeah, I wouldn't bench Lundstrom. How's it, Young Thug? Salah or Aguero captain? So I would go for Salah if you want to be safe. I would go for Aguero if you want to be a little bit more differential. I kind of go up the ranks a little bit. I would go for Aguero, but I think there's definitely safety with just going Salah. What are your thoughts on the Storm hitting this weekend? So I'm not based in the UK, so I can't really tell about the weather, but I'm pretty sure that the Premier League can't really afford to have another postponement in their kind of calendar, especially if it's going to be the likes of Man City. I've heard that maybe I'm wrong. I heard that London and Manchester are going to be particularly bad, so imagine if Man City get another fixture postponed. That's going to be absolutely terrible for their schedule. And then we really are going to have, what was that, the triple game week. That should be quite an exciting one. Martial or Grealish, that's Ricardo. Martial has a fixture against Chelsea. Man United are sometimes weird. They kind of pitch up for these top 6 clashes. So I think maybe just go for Martial. Hope that he plays up front. He was drifting quite a bit in that game last game week. So I think that I would lean a little bit more towards Martial. Hey, Davey, in that case, Cantwell or Soyuncu. I would go for Soyuncu. I don't think I would be playing Cantwell against Liverpool. I don't think so. Can you look into team news in starting 11? I will try and look for as much news as possible. I'm pretty sure one of the viewers will also post if they see any news. Callis, do you think Mopai will start? That's a tough situation to be in because I do think that he's a good player and I don't really know why he was benched the last game week. Manager came out and said that Murray probably will be starting a couple of games now. So it's a tough spot to be in because especially as I said earlier, it's not like if he's benched, he won't come on. I reckon that he'll come on for the last 10 minutes. Can I own 2 from Newcastle? You can because they're so cheap. So it's not really a hindrance to own 2 from Newcastle. But the attacking returns, so if you want to go for attacking returns, then go for it. Chetan saying, how's it, Dayvy? Should I play Madison or Lascelles? That's easy one. I would go for Madison. Hi, Dayvy. De Bruyne captaincy. If you want to go differential, I do think De Bruyne is going to be a good captain option. Grealish or Traore or Perez, I would lean a little bit more towards Grealish. Traore, just because of maybe the injury news and the tougher fixture a little bit. I do think that Aston Villa are going to attack. So hopefully Grealish gets something. Fleck or Grealish, I'd go for Fleck. Mane captain. So Mane captain, that's a mega differential right there. Not going to be captained by hardly anyone. So I do think that's very risky though. You kind of don't want to have, you want to have a player that's guaranteed to almost play 90 minutes. There's a couple of checklists that you should have for your captain. It should be fixture good, form good, and are they guaranteed to have minutes? Mane or Robbo. If you're talking about wild card, then it's a different story. But if you're talking about playing one of them, I would play both of them. I have Salah and Aguero. I need advice. Who's the best captain? Salah safe, Aguero differential. Mahrez captain instead of Salah. I'm 21k. So if you want to go for that, that's if he bangs and Salah doesn't, that's going to be a mega rise in rank. I started playing Fpl because of you, and I've also made Facebook page. And I really want to thank you. Pleasure, Optimus Prime. I'm glad that you're having success from your Facebook page. Hi, Davey. What about Ings captain? So Ings captain's also a little bit of a tasty one. I like it. I think if you're willing to go for it, then it's good. I almost want to say he's guaranteed a goal, but I think on the current form that he's been on, maybe not. I think if he carried on that scoring form, basically guaranteed a goal every single game. It is a home fixture against Burnley, but Burnley also one of those hit or miss teams that could sometimes pitch up not. Oscar saying Liverpool have Champions League like 3 to 4 days after Premier League rotation risk ? I think that I would be a little bit more worried if this was a normal game week, but because of how much rest they've had, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. You don't really want your players to be out of playing football, so that's not really practice, but playing match fitness. That's the word I was looking for. You don't want really to have your players out of match fitness for too long. So I do think that they'll be setting up for that game. I think that Atletico away games are going to be a little more conservative, and then they're going to look to really win that home fixture. I don't think that Liverpool wouldn't take a draw at Atletico's home ground. Davey, why did you choose O'Connell over Stevens? So Christian, only because I couldn't afford Stevens. So I just had to go for O'Connell. I had the exact money for him. What to do with Sionku? So if you hold him for this long, I reckon that you will just keep him. Leicester have some nice fixtures coming up. Not next game week, they play Man City, so definitely not going to be starting Leicester defender. But you kind of have to just keep him for those nice fixtures. A lot of questions here on Salah's giving birth. So if his wife did give birth today or yesterday, then I would think that he will have a kind of a week off. Hopefully he settles in a bit. I haven't had my own children, so I can't really talk about being a father, but hopefully 7 days is enough. I know that doesn't sound like a lot at all, but I reckon that their lifestyles, the footballing lifestyle is a little bit different from the usual worker. Time James, thanks for joining. I'm happy that you managed to join the stream. I saw that you've missed quite a couple. Scared of Traore, lost 20 points benching him. I would hopefully, I would kind of lean towards playing him, but if your starting 11 does have better fixtures, then I can perfectly understand benching him. The thing that I always would say with Traore and with most of these injured players is if they are injured, I don't see a reason why the club would risk them. I think that they would just kind of bench them and hopefully have some minutes late on in the season. But I think if he is injured and he plays again and gets worse, then it's going to be quite bad. Vincent, any electricity outages this week? Pretty sure there will be. I think we're going to be having it for quite a long time. If you had Henderson, will you sell him? I wouldn't sell him. I'd keep him for the next 2, and then I would look maybe at transferring him out. But I do think over these next 2, you definitely want to have a Sheffield United defender. Would you pay a -4 hit to transfer Lundstrom out for another Sheffield United defender, or keep him and play him? I would keep him. I wouldn't take a -4. I don't even think that I would. So the -4 is a definite no. The free transfer is a different story. If you have no fires to put out, I can understand it, but I wouldn't be taking him out for a hit. I would just play him. Do you think Tanganga will be a good differential? I think he will be. I don't think he'll be the best differential just because I don't really trust the Spurs defense that much. Maybe if he was an attacking player at that price, we could maybe be looking at a better option. But I do think that he's a nice player to own. Is it okay to have Lundstrom and O'Connell? Perfectly fine. A lot of people have even tripled up on the Sheffield United defense, so I don't think that's necessarily a negative. Fernandes, Rico / Dendonka. I just opted for Rico because more of an attacking threat, but Fernandes also has a little bit, so maybe Fernandes pips Rico a little bit on that case. But I don't think Dendonka is going to offer too much. Hey, Dayvy, would you bring in Redmond? But not sure if Zaha or Martial. Zaha better long-term fixtures, so I do like the look of Redmond, especially because of how good Southampton's fixtures are coming out. So that complements Danny Ings quite nicely. But in terms of who to transfer out, Zaha and Martial, both good options. But as you said, it sounds like you're leaning a little bit more towards Zaha. So you kind of always just have to go with your own gut decision. Dini or Wood, I would maybe lean a little bit more towards Wood because of how good of a form that he's been in recently. Would you play Perez or Fleck? I'd play Fleck. T Smicer saying, I've still got one free transfer left. Is it worth getting rid of Grealish yet or holding? I would hold Grealish for the next 2 and then I would transfer him out. So Southampton, Spurs, I'm just hoping basically anything from the Spurs game is bonus. And then hopefully they put a performance in against Southampton. Is there any cheap options for goalkeepers? So there's the Southampton option. I think it's McCarthy. Just correct me if I'm wrong in chat. But it is McCarthy. I think he came in about 4.4. So that's probably the cheapest keeper that you're going to be getting. Ali Taj saying Salah's wife just gave birth. So that's good if it was today, because then he basically has a week before the game. So hopefully that's enough time for him. Musset or Rico? I think I would just play Musset in that case. Musset seems to always come on later on in the fixture, so you could always maybe get a late goal from him. Alvin Block saying Grealish gone for me. Joe saying, is Mane going to be fit to play at least 60 minutes? I think that he will be. He still has another week of training. Klopp was quite optimistic of him starting the Norwich game before this game week even started, so I'm having high hopes for him. Need advice, please. Play Rico or Sionku or Aurier. I would go for Aurier. Grealish, Lundstrom or Harry Wilson to start. I think I would lean a little bit more towards Lundstrom in that case. Long or Traore, that's a tough one to go by. I really like Shane Long as an option. He's quite cheap as well, but Traore I think maybe just has that better attacking threat. But then again, I think Shane Long has the better fixture, so I think maybe Shane Long just edges it. It all depends if you have Danny Ings. If you have Danny Ings, then that double up seems quite nice. What are your free hits and wildcard plans, says Shad Ali? I will be making a video on it probably this week, talking about it. But I think with the fixture and the unconfirmed game weeks, it's quite hard to plan for that free hit and wildcard and a bench boost because of basically there's no confirmed doubles, only some blanks. Optimus Prime saying nothing at Twitter yet in team news. So that basically Optimus Prime seems to be out in the know there. He'll give us any kind of news that comes up. Hey Davey, should I bring in Jimenez for Calvert-Lewin for a -4 hit? I wouldn't do that this game week, Chetan. I don't think it's worth it. Jimenez has a tougher fixture than Calvert-Lewin. Maybe after this we could look at it. Traore, Grealish, Moura, please pick 2. I would go for Lucas Moura 100%, and then the other option I would probably go for I'm leaning maybe a little bit more towards Grealish just because of how kind of centrally he is in that Aston Villa attack. Summit saying, what are your thoughts on Fernandes after first game? I think that's a wait and see for me. If you need a mega differential, then you can maybe bring in Bruno Fernandes, but I don't think that I would be advising that transfer. Unless Man United really do look a lot better with him. R&R, are you going to use any chip on Game Week 28? I won't be using any chip. Please reply when to use the triple captain. I still have it. So I would use that on a double game week, best case scenario. But obviously, it's not always a guarantee. So I think that as long as you look at a fixture and you think that the player is going to get 100% 90 minutes and it's a good fixture. So let's say we knew Salah was 100% going to be playing 90 minutes this game week and there was no Champions League or anything. Then I would maybe look at the triple captain. But it's a little bit undecided there. A lot of news going around about Salah. So I wouldn't maybe look at it then. But I think maybe even, because if what I'm trying to say is that if you look at Salah, I triple captain him on a double game week. Then the next game week, which was last game week, he got the exact same points. So you don't necessarily have to use it in a double, but the double is definitely the best odds on getting a good score. 1.7 million in the bank. Need to get rid of Kelly. And I feel like I'm a bit weak up top with only Ings and Jimenez on the bench. So I don't think Ings and Jimenez is necessarily a bad option. What I would do maybe is if you don't have a triple Liverpool, I would go Kelly to whoever you can afford. Probably Gomez is the most likely, but if you can afford maybe Van Dijk or something like that, then I would also look at them. But I do think that the Gomez transfer would probably be the best, but otherwise you can use that money kind of anywhere. You could even maybe upgrade Kelly to a Sheffield United defender, as long as you have the bench to cover blank game week 28. I need help, Lundstrom or Rico. I would start Lundstrom. So I'm going to cover this now. If you own Lundstrom still, I would play him. I just think that he's going to start this game week. So looking to climb up the ranks, is Mahrez a sensible captaincy option? I do think if you're looking to climb up the ranks, that could be a nice option. I'm a Cod Costa. That could be quite good there. Perez or Barnes. So if they're both from Leicester, that kind of doesn't make sense. I would just probably play either of them. That's a 50-50. Hi, why didn't you wildcard? I didn't wildcard because when I looked at a specific lineup, I really didn't have any doubts. I would be chopping and changing my lineup so much. There's a lot of speculation about the Salah Mane kind of. If Mane comes back, imagine if Mane comes back and he scores 3 goals against Norwich. Then everyone who's wildcarded is going to be looking at bringing him in and vice versa. So if I looked at a squad, there's too much debate about Aubameyang and Aguero. Didn't know who to go from them. So I would only wildcard if I 100% knew I wanted certain players and I specifically wanted a specific formation or something like that. There was too much up in the air this game week about wildcarding, which is the reason why I didn't opt for it. There's too many question marks. That's probably the 2 words, question marks. That's probably why I didn't wildcard. Martinelli, will he play this game week? With Martinelli, I think you just play him. The only way you're going to know that Martinelli's not playing is going to be the game week after he's benched. So there's going to be a game week coming up. We don't know when. Maybe it won't even happen. But he'll be benched for 1 game week, and then every game week from then on, you'll probably just bench him. Is Mane playing? I don't know. Unfortunately, split game week, going to be a lot of questions asked about the players that we unfortunately aren't going to be able to answer. Martial to Bernardo Silva, good transfer. I'd say maybe if Bernardo Silva was guaranteed to start, but with Pep Roulette, we can never kind of predict him. If you think that he will start, then I can understand it. But Martial, still not the worst option in the world, especially if you've held him on for this long. I am saying Mo, wife just gave birth, so he should be okay. So there you have it. How's it, Dayvy? Triple captain, Aguero or Mo Salah? So I would go for Aguero if I was going to triple captain this week. I think it's a little bit more of a differential. Might be more of a kind of climb the ranks chance. Should I give Vardy a chance instead of bringing in Aguero? That's a tough spot to be in because if you look at Vardy, his next 2 game weeks are quite tough. And then Aguero has a really nice game week this week. So if you have a lot of money stashed in Vardy, then I would say no. But if you don't, I would look at bringing in Aguero this game week, especially if you're going to be captaining him. Mario is saying Lundstrom going to score a goal and assist, just wait. So there you have it from Mario. That's his prediction. Transfer out options for Callum Wilson. I'd probably be looking at Jimenez as my number 1. Who to vice captain if Salah doesn't play? I would go for a Man City option or I would go for a Spurs option. Hayden or Lascelles? I said Lascelles. I answered that a little bit earlier. Fleck or Grealish to begin with? I would go for Fleck. Is Traore going to play? Hopefully he does. No worries, Michael. I would go for... That's a tough... It's really a 50-50 between Stevens and Baldock. I think maybe Stevens a little bit. Let's just look at kind of ownership. I think I would only look at ownership in this case because it really is a 50-50. So Baldock owned by 12%, whereas Stevens is owned by 3%. So Stevens is still a little bit more of a differential. Not too many points in it. I think that I would probably opt for Stevens, but it really is a 50-50. That's going to be really hard to predict. Imagine you bring in one player and the other one kind of does well. What to do with Vardy? So I'm keeping him because I have so much money in him. I don't think that he's necessarily going to become a bad option. He was a really nice option early on, so I think over these next nice fixtures coming up in 2 game weeks' time, then he's going to do quite well. Do I start Brandon Williams or Soyuncu? I would start Brandon Williams. Oh no, I wouldn't start Brandon Williams. I'd start Soyuncu. Brandon Williams has a really tough fixture. I think 100% that Chelsea will score at home, so I would go for Soyuncu. Sorry for saying Brandon Williams first off. And I don't even know if Brandon Williams will start. Salah not going to play, question mark. I think that he will. I think that everyone kind of analyzes FPL a little bit too much. Sometimes we just have to stick with the play and go for it. Pep roulette, highly unlikely since senior players complained about it. That could be true, but then again, Pep, probably in his mind of his own, could kind of go for anyone that he wants. I don't think that many people are going to tell him what to do. The nice thing is they do have this earlier fixture, so maybe they'll be prepared for the Champions League. So I think that Aguero is definitely the player to kind of bring in. If he was guaranteed minutes, then I would look at him. Hi, do you like Bergwijn or Richarlison, please? So Bergwijn's probably a nice kind of differential to go with. Probably, apologies if I'm butchering his name. I kind of want to say Bergwijn, but I don't know if that's 100% translated to my pronunciation. But Spurs' fixtures are quite nice. Not the best, not the worst in the world, but only owned by 1.7. So if he's guaranteed to start, I think that's a nice option to go for. Hopefully he is guaranteed to start after playing just after he was transferred in. But it's one of those that Richarlison is still doing well. I think that he'll do well over the next couple of fixtures. So not just butchered Dutch lol. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know exactly if it is the Dutch translation for it, if it's similar to the Afrikaans translation, or if it's completely different. Should I start Perez or Jimenez or both? I would go for Jimenez. You say or both, so that means that you kind of have a player in your lineup that you think might not do that well. So it's all up to you. T-Cave saying Lundstrom reported to be benched. Don't start him. So if that's a credible source, if it's that source that was on the forums, he seems to be quite reliable. So maybe listen to him. Pronounce it as Bergwijn, and you're pretty close. You see, it could be Bergwijn or it could be Bergwijn. It's a lot different. O'Connell or Baldock? I'd go for Baldock if you can afford him. I just gone for O'Connell because I really needed the funds. Should I start Sionku or Lundstrom? So Richard, I was gonna say that I think Lundstrom's playing, but apparently there's been a couple of rumors now that Lundstrom's going to be benched. So I don't want to give you advice that says that. But if someone's willing to maybe post the tweet or something, I can look at it and I can tell you that if it is reliable. Devin Little saying Mountain Wine there. Yeah, if you translate it, it's a little bit of a weird surname. I wonder how that one came about. Lundstrom or Holgate, who to start? So this is the whole debacle now with Lundstrom. I'll try and go on Twitter now and see if I can pick up any news to start with. Maybe we can get some news about Lundstrom and then I'll tell you. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to multitask then. I'm going to have to reply to comments and look over on Twitter. So I might be a little bit lackadaisical. So Optimus Prime saying my source at Twitter, nothing. So it seems like this might be a little bit of there could be some speculation about it. I think that maybe I would have trusted it a little bit earlier, but now because there's a lot of kind of debate about Lundstrom, I think a lot of people might be getting a lot of likes and retweets from it. So Jazz K saying people forget that Mane is playing next week, not this weekend. Plenty of time for him to recover, start him. That's kind of what I think about him. I think that he's going to be perfectly fine for the game week. So TK saying it's the source on Reddit. The ITK guy has been right before. So if that's what TK is saying, then I'm leaning towards maybe being a little bit credible because he has predicted stuff before. I know there Jose saying, how do you trust team news 24 hours prior to the game, lol? I can understand that. The last game week, though, it was predicted. They were only playing, I think, the 5 o'clock game, and it was right on. So I do think that the manager will kind of have a set lineup that they'll train with and that kind of thing. So I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing to have it 24 hours before, but I can understand why you're saying that there is some speculation. Unfortunately, it's just one of those games that we don't really have anything concrete. So I don't really want to give you guys 100% that he is benched, especially because I don't know if it's the most reliable source to be said. Mane will get game time, says Sean Richardson. But I probably think won't come on until the 60th, 70th minute. So as long as he scores, that's fine. As long as he scores in that game, then I'll be perfectly fine for it. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do for you guys. I'll go over on the Reddit for you, and I'll take a look. And I'll take a look at what everyone is saying, because maybe then we'll be getting some more news. So if it's a credible source, then we could hopefully have some early team news, but I don't know. If I have the funds for Vardy to Aguero, should I do it? I think I would do it if you're willing to bring Vardy back. If you don't have a lot of funds stored in Vardy, then I would do the move. But unfortunately, with me, I have quite a lot of funds stocked in him. So I'm just looking on the Reddit here. Traore or Grealish to start. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Grealish time, just because of how central he is. So I don't see any kind of news over on the Reddit. So I don't know. Maybe if someone can link me the source, then I can look at it. But otherwise, I don't know. So I think that you basically just have to go with Lundstrom in this case. If no news comes out, 3 minutes before deadline, there's nothing much we can do about it, to be honest. So I think, unfortunately, you're going to just have to start Lundstrom and hope for the best. It is kind of a risk with him, but I think it would be quite a chop move of the manager. Why can't FPL give us 2 blank game weeks instead of 2 long game weeks? I just think that's to do with this whole winter break. They're still kind of integrating it into the system. So I'm hoping that he does do quite well. Is Sidibe starting? There hasn't been any team news as far as I know. We could maybe get some a little bit early on. For example, 1 minute, because it's only 3 minutes till the deadline. Rico or Soyuncu, I'm pretty much going to go for Rico, I think. Just the more of an attacking threat. I do think that Soyuncu and Rico will both concede. Hopefully Soyuncu doesn't score now, because that'll be quite unfortunate, but I think that this is probably going to be the lineup that I go for. I think I'm pretty happy with it. Hopefully Traore and Mane start. That's going to be the whole thing. If Mane starts, this game week's going to be quite good. But if he doesn't, then I'm going to be quite bad, because I'm going to have 12.4 million on the bench again. And I think you guys can understand that's a lot of my budget. So I kind of missed out last game week on a nice 6 points or something like that because of my Liverpool triple up. So hopefully this week does quite well. Salah or Aguero captain. So for the last time, probably before you guys get your teams confirmed, I would go for Salah safety, but Aguero if you want to be differential. Sionku Lascelles, I would go for Sionku. Rico or Bolly, that's a tough spot. Kevin Mann, final team on Twitter. So I usually don't do my final team on Twitter, like also Charles asking for if I do a live stream, unfortunately. Just because sometimes it's a little bit of a kind of multitasking task for me. So I'm not really the best multitasker. But we do have 1 minute till the deadline, so please get your teams in. We'll just pop a refresh here, so hopefully the lineup hasn't changed too much, and it has not. So I'll probably post my team on Twitter now for you guys. But I don't really see the point of it if I'm doing a live stream with it anyway. So it's a little bit unfortunate for those people who can't tune into the live stream, but it is what it is. Son or Salah captain, but I would go for Son as a differential, Salah as a safety, Tyron Swart. Appreciate you, Dayvy. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you as a member of the channel. Time over, says Manas. I think you still have 1 minute. And Yash saying start Martinelli. So if you have Martinelli, Yash is saying you must start him. Perez or Barnes, that's really a toss-up there. Arif, both good options. Both play for the same fixtures. So Traore or Madison, that's probably go for Madison. No worries, Optimus Prime. Unfortunately, tell them that's just what happens. We don't have any team news. I don't really think it's that detrimental. Most of the fixtures this game week aren't the best, especially the starting ones. So I don't think there's going to be too much in Everton Crystal Palace. Is it locked in? It is locked in. So what we can do is we can take a look at the lineups for the... So the lineups haven't even been announced yet. That is how early it is. But the time is over. We don't even have team news from the Everton Crystal Palace game. Let me check over on... If Google's not even using it, then maybe OneFootball will have them. So thanks to OneFootball, we have the lineup. So Richarlison starts, Calvert-Lewin starts. Unfortunately, it looks like Sidibe does not start. So that's quite an unfortunate one for those owners there. But otherwise, it's the usual suspects all along there. And then with Crystal Palace, we still don't have Tosin. We have Zaha and Ayew. And then Ward is starting Guaita as well. So as expected, we're not going to be having, unfortunately, we're not going to be having any Martin Kelly. Oh, that's the other option, as Boyan's saying there. Holgate is benched. So that's a little bit unfortunate for those of you who are there. No worry, it's been a pleasure streaming for you guys. It's gone by quite quickly today, which is always kind of the precedent for a good live stream. But I'm going to be signing off, guys. Stay tuned for those videos coming up next week. And then obviously the following week, we'll be talking about everything Game Week 27. Thanks for the sponsor, OneFootball. And hopefully Game Week 26 is absolutely splendid. I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.